Say it.
I'll take it when you're done. I don't have that either on my.
I have it in there and then under the contact it says 6 or 6. It looks like I have 4 numbers.
We're ready.
Set. You ready? Okay, great. Well, welcome to the Board of Park Commissioners meeting for August 18th, 2020. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers,
Here.
Mr. Emmerich,
Here.
Mrs. Westfall.
Here.
Okay, we have our minutes before us of our July 7th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes?
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
Motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, stand accepted. Thank you. Reports. Mr. Drake, welcome back from vacation. Do you have
Thank
anything
you.
to report?
Yeah, and I apologize. I actually did run my report, but I must have already been in vacation mode, so it never got sent. I would just add that, or just say that despite all the events that have been canceled, the concerts that we've not had, and the different venues that we've not had to set up for, we've been extremely busy this summer. Tree work has been on kind of an unusual run. Number of tree calls that unusually higher than what we usually are at this point in the year. Parks remain very, very busy. I think with the reduction in other events going on, park use is quite heavy right now. And then also coupled with the reduction of the couple of seasonal staff members we did not bring back has really kept us busy. So things are going well, but just extremely busy this year.
Any questions for Mr. Drake?
No.
Thank you. I don't see Mr. Seiler on. Is he around?
He is not on the call.
Okay, he is giving us his report. So if any of you have any questions, call him directly. Mr. Boer, welcome.
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
Okay, do you have anything to add to your report?
Nothing to add to it, no, sir.
Okay, are you out on the fairway?
I'm just, I'm outside on the driving range, actually.
You submitted your financial report. And I've got a question for you. The financial report that shows a couple of different July 1 to August 14th figures. And they all appear to be purchases and sales, but please explain the difference. One figure is a total revenue of 156,000, and the other is 141, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's one's from 2020, the other's from 2019. So the 166 figure is 2020. The 141 is that same time period to reference from last year.
Gotcha. If I would have read that, I would have known and didn't have to answer the question. Okay.
That's okay.
Good. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to your report concerning that? Looks like the figures
no,
are
nothing
up.
to add. Yeah, I mean, we continue to have a good year. Really, it's sort of, I would say, almost as busy as we can be. Very, it's really all good on our end, and of course, conditions are really holding up well with all the play that we've had. It's always a concern, when you get this much play, that they could deteriorate a little bit, but they really haven't. It's been a good year so far.
Do you need any assistance from us in helping prepare your budget request for this next year?
Not that I'm aware of off the top of my head, but is that something I can let you know? I mean, I don't think I will, or haven't in the past, so I don't anticipate that, but if I do, I will let you know. Yeah,
Okay,
yes, sir.
good. Okay, any questions of Mr. Brewer? Okay, Kyler, we're going to have a pretty long meeting, and I don't need to have you stick around for it. If you want to, you're welcome to, but otherwise, thank you for checking in with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I don't have a planning commission report to give to the commission. Do we have any old business? I don't think we do. New business update on park encroachments. Mr. Davis, I think you're going to head that discussion. That was a very good report you gave us, by the way.
Thank you.
I liked it. Go ahead. Do you want to report on what your findings were in a general fashion?
Yeah, so there was 11 properties that identified with encroachment issues. Of those 11, one of those is 700 Governor's Road, which is Madonahue, who we've already declared surplus. So a letter actually did not go to her or to that property. So that left 10 properties that received letters. Of those 10, 2 have complied, 288 Shaftesbury and 724 Shaftesbury. They have removed the items or will be removing items. One was a garden that was seeded. They will no longer seed that garden, so that will take care of that issue. There was 2 that we received no responses from, and that was 1148 Arbor Lane and 2623 Huntington Drive. We still have not gotten in contact with those individuals, and that leaves 6 other ones. Of the other ones, probably there's 2 there that I would say are more serious than the rest. The 2 being one on McCaig. They have a driveway that's next to the Haywood Park. I'm sorry, that's 1025 McCaig. There's a garage in the back, and the only way to access that garage, there's 2 access points, one from Penn Road and one from McCaig. The Penn Road, it looks like from old aerials, there used to be maybe an older gravel drive that is no longer usable, or it's now been covered. So the only one that exists is the one that's right off of McCaig. I did speak to Ryan Dunn, the owner, and he was concerned losing that land because it would take away access to his property. He would probably ask for some sort of an easement in the future, if that could be possible, or to purchase the land. So he would have access to that garage that's already been there. That's probably the more serious one, I think, of everything we have.
How about the other one on McCaig? She seemed pretty upset with you.
Yeah, she has a fence on the property that extends several feet deep. I believe if I looked that up, it was 6-foot encroachment into the property. So it was pretty far down. She's done a lot of landscaping, looks actually pretty nice in the back area. She is probably the one that is very concerned about it. She has stated whether she thought about selling the property, but she is afraid to sell it because the fence is over on park property. She has a lot of landscaping in there, trees, bushes, shrubs. She's into that sort of stuff. So she was concerned about that and wanted to get some guidance on that. The rest of the items are some sheds, a lot of fire pits and trailers parked behind garages that pull into the land. So probably not as big of an issue. Most of the people, I think the other 6, indicated that they would like to purchase property from the park board or come to some sort of agreement to use that property. There was one gentleman from 1136, Thomas Fairchild. He talked to me. He was like, well, I'll remove it if the park board won't sell it. And then he sent me an email a couple of days later after we had spoke, and he proposed 2 options. The first option was, it says, since the encroachments are not currently interfering with any activities or development by the city of Troy, can a variance or waiver be granted until such time that the city develops the park or that I sell his property? And then 2, would the city of Troy Parks sell me the land where the encroachments have been documented by a survey? Thanks for your consideration on this matter. Most of the other individuals would like to purchase property from the park land. I just told them I would take that information forward and wait on guidance from the park board, and then I would get back to each of these individuals and the council, because it would be a recommendation to city council you would be making.
I guess the next step would be that if they want to purchase the property, they make an application to the park board for that purpose. The application would take the form of the answering the questions in that surplus property issue that we have now adopted. So if they want to go ahead and present that to the park board, answering those questions, I guess that would be appropriate. I think simultaneously with that, we've got to take a look at the temperature of city council as to whether or not they would even consider something like that. Most of these encroachments, it appears to me, do not impact the use of the park property. The one with the driveway on McCaig, I know that the park board has known about that encroachment for decades. We've known that before Jeremy became superintendent. But it was never on a property that we were using, and it didn't offend what we were doing out there on that property. But as far as an easement's concerned, I think what we'd want to do is get rid of the property if it's not a beneficial use to the rest of the park. Susan, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree. Especially something like that that's been decades that way. I don't have a problem with that. It's not usable parkland anyway.
And so we're speaking of 1025 McCaig, that's correct?
Well, I'm speaking of all these encroachments overall.
Yeah.
In generalities, I don't believe any of these encroachments are really beneficial, or they may be beneficial to the homeowner, but they're not detrimental to our uses of the park. For instance, the biggest one he's talking about is the one on McCaig, and Jordan saw that being where you live, and there's no way anybody of the participants on that Haywood Field ever use that property, other than maybe fall into the driveway. And the one behind the next door neighbor, the fencing and the ornamental trees and things like that, it goes 6 feet into our property, but that enhances the park. It doesn't make it detrimental. I guess the overall problem I have though is if you take these sharp lines out and we sell these properties, our staff have to mow. It's more difficult to mow and care for the maintenance of the park. But it also generates some money for our capital improvement budget, I guess. So I don't know.
And I believe Jeremy's already addressed that previously, saying it really doesn't hurt. The high-speed mowers, it's not that hard to mow around things anymore. I think we asked him that at another meeting. So that doesn't concern me so much.
Okay, good. Somebody say something?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Al?
Yes, Mr. Terrington, yes.
So one concern that we would want to follow up with is the fact that if we have permanent encroachments such as sheds or fences, we would want to check with the law director as well as our insurance pool to see, simply either ignoring it or having some kind of an agreement may not be enough to indemnify us if something were to happen, because we're allowing or granting permission for that encroachment to be on the property. Not sure what kind of liability we would be accepting, either implicitly or explicitly. So we would want to follow up with that as well.
Right. But we don't have to worry about the encroachments if they purchase the property.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
However, I know, I don't know, but based on the tenor of the last couple that have gone through the council and the fact that they put together the list of questions, I cannot say what the appetite might be of the council to sell 8 or 9 small parcels of property like this. Just bear that in mind as well. So if there is, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, could you address that with your law director, please? And then in the meantime, Mr. Davis, if you want to get back to those people that said they might be interested in buying that, have them make an application, answering those questions on the surplus request form in our policy. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I certainly will.
Okay. And then we can address that maybe at our next meeting and have the law director's opinion by then. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Jordan? Susan, is that okay with you guys?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that also.
Okay, great. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a review of the park tours. This whole next segment of our meeting may take some time. Mr. Davis, I don't want to hold you captive to anything here. But if anybody needs to leave the meeting for some other purpose, that's okay with me. But just to let you know, it may take a while. Susan, Jordan, Jeremy, I think we have an Excel spreadsheet of what our current year comments are in our park tours.
Yes.
So why don't we go through that if you would, please? And Jeremy, you can make contacts as to whether or not, comments concerning whether or not you put that in our 5-year plan.
Sure. Did you all get the email I sent this afternoon with the updated?
Yeah.
And that copy I sent this afternoon reflected, as we go through the spreadsheet, reflects some of those recommendations. And I put out in the comments what had been added per the recommendation following the tours. So I'll address those as we go through.
Okay. So let's go through them park by park to start out with. Archer Park. We've got all that. When we did McKeag Race Park, one of the things that we had Tim Mercer do was mow all the way up to the railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a lot nicer because the railroad doesn't take care of their property. Okay?
Sure.
Archer Park's the same way. I mean, could be a really nice park, but there's a lot of vegetation growing up next to the railroad tracks. And if we can just bush hog that stuff down or something,
Okay.
without harboring our equipment, I think that'd look a lot nicer.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe just once or twice a year, just trim it back. I don't think it has to be mowed really short, but if it were
Right.
just trimmed back once or twice a year. I
Okay.
agree.
Sure.
Okay, Boyer Park. Jordan, that was your assignment. You want to address that?
Yeah, no, I thought that was in good shape overall. Had some shelters that were in good shape. The only thing was the baseball diamonds,
Yeah.
kind of need cleaned. And that was kind of a common theme with a couple of these, but otherwise I thought it was in good shape.
Okay. If anybody else has any comments on any of these parks, just speak up. Bruckner
Okay.
Park, Susan?
Yeah, I didn't see anything that was needed at Bruckner. It looked beautiful to me.
Campbell Park, Jordan?
That was another baseball diamond one. I just thought needed a little cleaned up.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, this is unfortunately one of the direct effects of the COVID cutbacks we had to make. I did
Okay.
not bring my seasonal full-time spray guy back. So we've been using Matt Clifton, who's been extremely busy with the tent rentals and then all of his downtown duties. So we're kind of, between him and I, we're trying to cover that, but obviously struggling to do that. So just so you can bear that in mind
Mhm.
on some of the spraying issues.
Mhm.
Okay, the next one's Carriage Crossing Park. That was mine. I noted there were cracks in the basketball court. They need to be addressed before they get worse.
Yes.
If you got concrete filler or whatever, we don't want to lose those courts just because we're not addressing the cracks.
Yeah. So if you see in 2021 maintenance of facilities, I did have that in the budget and in our 5-year CIP. So
Mhm.
that was already accounted for to be taken care of in 2021 to be crack filled, seal coated, and restriped.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Okay, Community Park. I'll start off, rust prevention. The backboards and the poles of the basketball courts, they need to be, painted or restored, something like that, so we don't lose those.
Okay.
Grass is growing in the cracks in the parking lot I saw. Okay. And then Susan, I think you made some comments there also. You want to go? over-
Yeah, because I've been hanging out at the playground area a little bit days. But that train engine thing, which has been there for years and years, that stack is full of dirt, and at times it's full of water. And I've been there early in the spring when that thing was just a mosquito pond.
Okay.
That center part, I don't know if holes could be drilled in it, or somebody's filled it up with dirt and it just catches water for some reason. And it
Sure.
needs a little painting. And then that original fence is missing a big section.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on with that, if that's going to be replaced. Moving
That
it.
got broken out, and I don't think we can get, it's so old, I don't know that we can get any replacements for that without trying to do something custom. So we had the idea of removing those last two sections, the broken section and then one beside it, just taking those completely out. And that will still allow a buffer between where the parking lot ends and then the playground. So we're not opening up any kind of a hazard per se. to the parking area, but we can get rid of that. I had talked about that with Charlie, and we came up with that. I think that's going to be the most economical and best option if you guys are
Right.
okay with that.
Right. Yeah, I would be fine with that. The curly slide I noted needs a little paint. And I'm sure they're on there, the shelter roofs.
Yes.
Some of them have metal, some of them have shingles.
We have started to do those. We just did another round of them. We just completed that. And then you're going to see here in the 5-year budget, we've got 2 shelters completely slated to be replaced, if that's possible. Shelter 3 in 2021, and then shelter, I believe it was 16 in 2022 or 23. We'll get to that. I think 23. And then in addition to that, in 2022, we had a line item to replace the remaining shelters that are still the asphalt shingles, so that all shelters by 2022 will have green metal roofs and all be matching.
That's awesome. Okay.
Okay, everyone, I went out to Duke Park. I went through to get to Duke Park to the McDade property, and I see we've got corn and beans out there.
Yes.
Who's farming that, and where's the money going?
We piggybacked that onto the agreement we have with Ethan Manuel that's doing the former Hills Camp property. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, that goes into the general fund, I believe. The revenues from the farming.
That's correct.
Okay. I noted that when I was out there, the bike path, the walking path, it's having some cracks also. So we might
Yes.
do a crack filler on that.
We have
So-
started, our street department has been really, really helpful over the past several years. Each year I've had them out and they've been able to do a lot of that crack filling and patching in-house. So we'll continue to do that. I'll touch base with Jerry Mullins for 2021 and we'll do another round out there if he's able to work it into his schedule in-house.
You mentioned the Hills Camp property. Have we been able to sell that house yet?
No, still
Damn.
trying. I know Mr. Davis was working on that, and I haven't gotten an update recently, so I'm not sure.
Is it listed with a realtor at all?
It is not. We've been talking to a couple of potential developers about it. COVID kind of derailed some of the plans, and so Tim has been talking to a couple of more. It's been a lot slower than we've liked, but we also don't want to consider deflated prices, if you will. That's not to say we're tossing away valid offers. They've just been slow, and he's been talking to a couple of developers multiple times.
I've heard from neighbors there, because my parents live right down the street, that there's raccoons in that and it's getting destroyed.
We have had raccoons in, or signs of them. Each time I've been in there recently, we've not seen or heard them. So I don't know.
They're nasty little.
One thing we're going to try to do sometime soon, again, we've struggled to even keep up with normal maintenance this year, but we do need to remove the vegetation's really gotten overgrown around the house. So I think that's going to help a lot. Kind of got that slated for an early fall project. And I think that will help keep them. I think that's allowing additional access for them into the house.
Now, are we still planning on just selling the house and not the barns?
It's house, barns, and
Okay,
was fine.
everything together.
Yeah, we've got the property parceled off, in a couple of acres or 1.5 acres, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Some of the discussions that we've had, though, might take into consideration a little bit more of the property, I guess, as it goes a little farther north, because it's much more attractive if there was, I think the magic number is 5 acres, including the house property. So we're still looking at various options.
Okay.
Okay, Hurlinger Park, Susan?
Yeah, I just noticed some limb debris There needs to be some gravel on that west side. It looks a little thin, needs mulch. Couple of swings were completely wrapped around the top.
Okay.
And then the jungle gym just looks dirty. It needs power washed. And then net on the basketball court, and the asphalt's cracked on the basketball court park. And I don't think it had any striping either.
Right. So most of that is just routine facilities maintenance that can be like the gravel and so forth, pressure washing, that's all facilities maintenance. I
Yeah.
did add, and Patrick, don't flip out, this isn't in my CIP, but for 2021, just to get it covered, I did put in the Hurlinger basketball court seal coat and stripe. And that's at $2,000 highlighted in yellow on the copy I sent today.
I saw that.
Okay, Haywood Park.
Bleachers look a little rickety. They were kind of lopsided a little bit. Of course, the field needed dragged. No place to go to the bathroom. The tree behind the backstop looks 3/4 dead, and then
It
there's
is.
one in the northeast corner that looks
Yeah.
really
Both of those are on our removal list for this fall.
okay.
I'll look at the bleachers. I wasn't aware of anything there.
I think it's just like the top level looks tilted or something. It's not
Okay.
right.
Okay, Hook Park. I walked that. It looks like everything's okay. Just needs a couple of trash cans. There aren't any at all there.
Yeah, so do those get used? We actually several years ago went around, we identified parks that we've got 100, I think it was at last count, we had 160 trash cans in our system.
Wow.
So, and we've got it down to 2 guys doing that on a regular rotation. So we tried several years ago, I went through and we kind of audited what we thought we could remove without too much of an impact. Those were 2 of the ones I know we removed. So and we don't do any programming there now recreationally through our recreation department with softball. So we did pull those. I could put those back if you really think, but again, that's kind of one of those out of the way if we can avoid having to go there to dump cans.
Well, Ken
we
doesn't
also
have any programs there. The Ken doesn't have any programs there. It's the neighborhood kids that are playing, and there shouldn't be a whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just ignore that then. Kensington Park. I went out there and there's cracks in the walking trail. They need some hot crack filler, something like that. And then as far as a capital improvement, it does not have a basketball court if you believe one's necessary. So necessary or helpful.
Yeah.
That's a nice park, by the way.
It is. Yeah. So first, I guess to address the walking path, I did add that in 2023, just to kind of try to spread these additional as we found those. I did not have seal coating of that walking path. I did not have seal coating of the McKay Grace walking path in the 5 years. So I put the McKay Grace in 2022, and we put the Kensington path in 2023. And I'll have to get pricing on those. I'm not sure exactly yet what those will run, but I did add those to reflect those comments.
Okay.
Basketball, out there, one thing we ran into, we actually removed, if you recall, many years ago, we removed the court in Minky Park. Being that close and kind of surrounded by houses, sometimes you get kids out there late playing basketball, and then you get complaints from residents. So I don't know. I mean, that's just something to consider. It's a good idea. I'm sure it would be used, but it's a little closer quarters at Kensington than say like Carriage Crossing, where the court is further out away from the houses. So I don't know if that would be an issue with noise or not.
Has anybody requested one out there?
Not that I've taken any requests from.
Well, we'll just table that then.
Okay.
Okay. Kings Chapel Park, Susan.
The only thing I noticed out there is that under the swings, there's a very big divot. So it just needs mulch or rake to fill that in. That's the only thing I saw out there.
Okay.
I went out to Mayor's Park and really there's nothing needed out there. McKagan Race Park, Susan?
I really feel like it needs play equipment. To me, that's a big waste of space out there. I don't know how many people are using that space, but I know a couple of years ago, somebody was talking about raising money to put equipment out there. We already addressed the asphalt maintenance. South Bench needs painted and cleaning, and then
All that.
the number 15 glass was shattered. Looks like somebody just pounded that and it's shattered.
Yeah.
I remember the maintenance agreement we had with the library. Those stations are the library's responsibility, not.
They are, and I wanted to give you an update on that. I actually informed them of that crack. They are no longer, we've had so much vandalism there on each of those signs. They are no longer going to keep up with the maintenance. And so unless there's an objection, we're just going to go in this fall or here soon and pull all those posts and back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
So it was a great idea. It just, they've been vandalized numerous times and
Yeah.
they're just not being able to keep up with the ongoing expense.
Yeah, it's a shame,
Sure.
but I get it.
yeah, I remember we noted that last year too. There's probably 3 or 4 of them last year. So it's,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how long it last, a couple months, and then something's damaged there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with
Actually-
Susan. Need for some playground equipment.
Yeah, I do see kids with bicycles on the path. And I do see parents walking with strollers there. But there is just nothing else to do there.
Yeah, it does get used a lot for what it is. And keep in mind too, that as you have more amenities and there's more people in the park, that automatically helps cut down on vandalism because of the
Mhm.
presence of people there.
Mhm.
So that may help with, something like that would help with that issue some.
Mhm.
Do you want to put some money in the budget for playground equipment there?
We can certainly do that. Keep in mind, I don't know where we plug it in, if we just project it on out, I'm still working on 2025, kind of plugging some things in. We really need to identify, we've got the aging equipment at Trinity with the baby swings and the original swing set that's still there. We did replace the slide that was there this past year. And then Duke Park already, I don't know who was out, if everybody looked at that, but those playgrounds those structures already have the vinyl coating starting to crack and come off of those from sun exposure. So not only do we have the old equipment still, like Mickey Park's got original swings, an original slide. Our equipment at Duke is aging and starting to need attention, and even Community Park, which is one of our newer pieces, has some things we need to start looking at. So do we do that, or do we, maybe reapproach the idea of a neighborhood fundraising effort and see where that goes? Is that
A couple of years
feasible?
ago, as Susan indicated, a couple of years ago, somebody did attend a park board meeting and suggested a community fundraiser. I think they were going to try to get some money out of the hospital when it came to town. And the mayor brought her to park board and introduced her to us. Do we remember who that was by any chance?
I can go through emails and find that, because she was in contact with me first, and then I think I had sent her on to the mayor or thereabouts. So I can probably find some emails and bring that.
If you want to make contact with that person and say, how serious are you now?
Yeah.
We didn't do that way back in the day, as the vision of Mayor Beamish was that continued to be a passive park. The Mayor Oda has a different vision for that park, which I think more aligns with the park board's interest of putting playground equipment there. So if you want to address that first, that'd be great.
Okay.
I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but I kind of think that we ought to maintain what we currently have before we put some new stuff in. Although I think we ought to get that new stuff in the budget someplace, somewhere along the line.
I do, as we go through here, you'll see I've got started to plug in, kind of evaluating off of, if you recall, Austin's our interns conditions and needs assessment, and kind of looked at that and started to try to prioritize what we need to replace and things that are aging that we're going to have to start to cycle in here over the next 5 years or so.
Okay.
So that's all reflected in the 5-year as we go through.
Are you familiar with the history of that McCaig Race Park?
Yes.
Okay, because I believe that was a donation from Hobart Corp. And they may have used that as a dump at one time, and there's some,
I think originally one time there was actually houses on the one side, I believe, and then maybe in the middle they dumped some stuff in one. at
yeah,
one
what I'm
point.
getting to though is I think in the middle, I think you'd have to check this with our engineers, but that we can't place, go down and dig down into the ground too far before.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay.
There's
Yeah,
a
they may-
cap on it of some kind, isn't there?
I'm sorry,
I don't know. I know that was Trosel we had the cap on, but
Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
but the playground equipment probably be closer to McCaig Avenue anyway, before you get down, it's kind of a drop off.
Yeah,
Probably
Mhm.
up there.
right. Probably closer to the shelter.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can interject.
Yes, sir.
A couple of things. First of all, staff can look at past meeting minutes and get the name of the lady that came and spoke. I think she came at least twice to park board meetings. Second of all, as far as McCaig Race, we're not aware of any environmental issues. Hopefully it was just harmless dumping that was being done. So, we, unlike the monarch butterfly in the wildlife area out at Wildflower area out by in Treasure Island, there are no restrictions on any kind of cap penetration. And the third thing, just to throw it out there, since we have been monitoring the budget pretty closely this year due to the COVID, we're going to be very cautious next year as well. And I know Jeremy always does a good job of paring down his requests. This year, I'm anticipating that there's not going to be a lot of gravy, if you will, just because we don't know what 2021 revenue impacts are going to look like. We've been guardedly optimistic so far about how we've been doing. It hasn't been as bad as we initially forecast, but it is not in a growth mode. So just bear that in mind, that as we look towards maintaining and repairing things versus buying new and additional equipment, it's gonna be a tougher year than maybe in the last few years that we've had.
Good. I understand that. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on McCaig Race Park? Okay, Meadow Point Park, Jordan.
I thought that was in good working condition. I didn't have anything needed on that one.
Meadow Point,
I'm sorry.
good. Meadow Point Park is always that park that we don't want that park.
Well, not on the
across the
side of the
creek.
creek, the
Yeah.
far side of the creek. Yeah.
Right. Have we had it as surplus property at one time. We're only mowing that like once a month, right?
Yeah. We let it to knock it down once a month and
If the neighbors want to buy it,
don't do anything with it.
yeah.
I think we've actually offered it twice that I know of, and neither time did we have any luck.
Right. Okay. All right. North Market Ball Field, Susan.
The dugout needs painted, it's chipping, gravel and pavement, which I see is on the schedule. The southwest corner of the restroom, the roof has been damaged and the ceiling has been damaged.
All that.
The foul post needs paint, it's chipped. Weeds in the warning track. There's moles or groundhogs or something behind the backstop. And then I just have a question mark. The bleachers just are really crumbling.
Yeah.
But what are we gonna do about that?
We've
I don't know.
we continue to talk about that, and we just, yeah, we're aware.
Jeremy, tell me about the mold problem, because I see up on the levee behind the football stadium.
Yeah, we've had a real run of problems. In fact, they got so bad on North Market last year. We had Barnes Wildlife Control came in and they trapped 17 off of the North Market baseball field. Well,
Wow.
between the baseball field and the softball field. So we had them all under control, and now it's good to know that we need to look at it again behind home plate and make sure we keep them under control now. But they just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it seems like the last year and a half, they've really had a run of them.
Okay. Menke Park, there's a couple of big dead or dying trees out there and dead.
Yeah, I am aware of that. I believe that was a fungal disease that started in last year and then they completely died this year. Both of those are on a removal list, and then also on the list is to go through the entire park and just dead wood and trim the rest of the trees.
Okay.
Alan, I had a comment on that one. I know we kind of have that official, unofficial crossing between Hobart Preserve and Menke. I mean, is there any thought to a path there or do anything different than what we're doing now? I mean, it seems like it's heavily used, I will say. And I've used it. I use it all the time too, but I just didn't know if there's been any more discussion or thoughts on that at all.
The history behind it is that when Hobart Urban Nature Preserve was built, they wanted a path directly to our restrooms. And we thought, well, gee, we don't want, they've got their own parking lot that would assist others in coming in and parking in the Menke parking lot, and to go ahead and go over to the Hobart Urban Nature Preserve. And do we just want to kind of keep it low key type of thing? So that's what we've done in the past. I'm not saying that's good for going forward, but that's the rationale why we've never done anything before.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was kind of surprised they didn't build theirs with restroom facilities in them as it was, but.
Gotcha.
Okay, Joe Reardon Skate Park. I noted that maybe a picnic shelter would be nice out there sometime. And we've always talked about bathrooms, but this is one that would be quite expensive because it would need a lift station to get up in the sewer. So that's kind of a discussion item, but maybe a shelter to shelter people from the sun would be appropriate. Susan, you also had some comments.
Yeah, I was there Sunday morning and the trash was overflowing, but it looked like somebody had a party there.
Okay.
So I'm sure it's a hangout spot. A couple of the I don't know what they're called, but the rails that they ride that have the wood base,
Yes.
a couple of them busted in, and I'm sure that happens. It definitely seemed like it needed to be mowed. And the dirt bike path, I don't know if there's any chance we could expand that, but to me that looks like a great place for beginning dirt bike riders to learn. And there seems to be room for it, but I don't know if that's an option. And I also wanted to say that when we were there was a family from Greenville, a dad and 3 or 4 kids. They said they come over there because it's so nice and they really appreciate how people take care of that place, and we're really grateful that it was there.
Good. We've had a real improvement with, we really fought vandalism there really bad over the last few years. As Matt Williams had come to the one park board meeting and kind of started a group and really started a rally, kind of the younger crowd to take better care of the park, and that's helped a lot. I just met with him over at the park the week before I went on vacation, and we've actually got that scheduled for Charlie to work on some of the repair issues that are there. So those will be taken care of here shortly. So it has improved tremendously, the amount of the reduction in vandalism. Trash has been a lot better. They used to throw trash all over the place. They're picking up trash a lot. So it just really seems to be improving. In regards to the dirt bike loop, long term, and I don't know, there's a trend right now. Matt's keeping me up to date because I know nothing about it, but Matt is really entrenched in the whole scene. There's a trend for pump tracks and skate plazas. So they're going to concrete skate plazas rather than the modular ramps. And then in the dirt bike area, rather than dirt jumps and dirt ramps, they do these things out of concrete and they call it a pump track. So they never have to pedal. It starts at a higher elevation, and then it's just a series of rolling hills and jumps that they're actually in, and then bermed corners, and they're actually able to go through the whole thing without pedaling. Susan, I'm sure you're aware. I talked to Jim Stubbs and Jeff Schultz about it. They're aware of it, and they kind of thought that would be the perfect venue. Matt Williams is all for it. He thinks it'd be heavily used, and eventually the idea is we could continue it to the north off of the northwest corner of the existing skate park, and then go out into that area where the dirt bike track is right now. So
Yeah, there's
long term,
plenty of room for that.
yeah. So long term, I think that's down the road, something that we could look at for that, to utilize that area a lot better.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
It's a lot of traffic. Good
A
area.
lot, yes.
It's so much nicer than it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
looked like the party central, and that's the first time I've seen trash overflowing, and we walk by there a lot. That's the first time I've seen it.
Do you recall what time you were there? I'm just trying to think if my people were there. I've got one person coming in Saturday and Sunday to dump trash, and that is one of the stops. So
It was probably 10 in the morning, 10:30
okay.
maybe.
So they may or may not, that'd be toward the end of their route. So
Yeah.
I'll just make a note and make sure that we are still covering that on Sunday.
Yeah, it might have been earlier than that. I can't remember which route we took, but yeah, that's the first time I'd seen overflowing trash, but I hadn't been there on Sunday morning in a while.
Okay. I do think long term, one thing I did talk to, Matt would be all for, that whole group has talked about some sort of shade structures and more benches. You saw that we moved a set of bleachers that we had extra out of Duke Park, and that's helped a lot to provide a spectator area. But I think some type of a covered shelter eventually would make sense there and be utilized.
Yes, I think it would too.
Do you, Jerry, you mentioned vandalism a couple of times. Do you have a line item in your budget? I mean, what is that? Do you have any rough estimate of what that's costing a year or anything like that?
I track that. I can find that for you. I track it in our work order system. But typically we're able, if it's what we would consider minor, enough that we wouldn't cover it under insurance or turn it in, I usually just cover that out of our maintenance budget. On the bigger things where we've had, toilets and urinals broken at Duke Park, something like that gets turned into insurance and covered that way. So I can get that information. I don't have it right off the top of my head.
It's just a thought. It's kind of interesting. You always have the downtown camera. How cool is that to see downtown? And when it's all lit up, it looks great. It may be great to highlight a park or two so that someone could go online and see how many people are at Joe Reardon Skate Park, right? And then it also acts as a deterrent for any vandalism. And if it's not an expensive thing to run a webcam for a little bit, right? Does that offset some of the the vandalism costs? But it could be a good way to highlight a couple of parks on the and kind of show traffic to people who are interested in attending it, as well. So dual purposes.
That's true. And Patrick, we've got the cameras, and we just put a new camera up at Treasure Island. Would there be any interest, or do we even want to approach that idea of allowing like a public access to those cameras at Treasure Island like we do downtown? Because that's one we already have in place.
Yeah, there are. So to Jordan's comment, they are actually not cheap to install. There are, of course, ongoing costs, which is where they always get you.
Gotcha.
It's not a simple process even to add Treasure Island, because every time you add one of those to the website or any social media, there is an additional subscription cost that goes on there. So
Sure.
We will have actually a split camera system for the downtown that will double our subscription costs, only because that's such a hot button, hot area. that we had some blind spots there. So it's not as easy as we might think. We can put static duck blind cameras, I guess, or deer blind cameras, whatever they're called.
yeah.
But those are not broadcastable, and we don't have Wi-Fi out in any of those areas except for Treasure Island and in downtown.
Gotcha.
Jeremy, you meet with staff once a week at least, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sure. We were talking about encroachments earlier, talking about maintenance items. If you haven't done it already, I'd like to make sure that as an item on your agenda with staff, that you mention to them that they should bring it to your attention any perceived encroachment or maintenance items that they may see when they're out there on the mowers.
Yes.
I know they've got, kind of a focus thing.
Mhm.
I need to mow, and then it's lunchtime and I need to mow, it's off work.
Yeah.
But if they see anything, I want them to bring to your attention. If there are encroachments, then bring it to our attention. Okay.
That's good. Yeah, actually, as soon as I had seen the spreadsheet that Tim Davis had given us in the email earlier, along with the letters and the pictures, I went through each one of those encroachments with the entire department. The week, it was probably 2 weeks prior to my vacation, the week I received those. So our entire department has been versed on where our known encroachments are now, and if have been told that if they see anything additional to that, to bring it to my attention immediately. So we've got that in place now, and we'll continue to monitor that as we see those.
Good. I understand there's also work being done on the rest of the Troy property, city of Troy properties, to determine whether or not there's any encroachments out there too. So that's good. Okay, next we have Trade Square soccer fields. I looked at those and it's continuing. The goalposts need painting. So Treasure Island Park, I didn't see anything. Susan, you had a comment about taking maybe 3 or 4 of the picnic tables there to Prouty Plaza.
Yeah, I feel like, the weekends, especially with COVID, that I've been down there and they get filled up and there's no place for people to sit and have lunch, or, that it would be nice to have more picnic tables down there. I don't know. There seem like so many on Treasure Island that maybe we could give up a few and move them down there. I don't know if that's even possible.
There's 7 there now on Prouty Plaza.
Yeah. So, so I can touch on that. One, I'm currently working on pricing for tables designated for Prouty Plaza. Right now, the tables we have down there, we have robbed from Duke Park.
Okay.
So we really need to get those back to Duke Park. On our reservation site, it lists how many tables and the seating capacity for each of our shelters. So we're not quite accurate there right now, as we've taken those tables to Prouty. So I think long-term, we're looking at more of a permanent solution for the tables at Prouty Plaza and wouldn't need the tables from Treasure. I can say also that there are times that I have seen most of those tables, if not all of them, full or being used at Treasure Island.
Okay.
One other thing I can touch on real quick about Treasure Island. With the tent rentals, we did not put a grill in at the shelter during the redevelopment. So we really need to look at, and I'll get pricing, probably one of the double wide grills like we have at the Brick Shelter in Community Park. One of the tent campers the first or second night came ready to grill food, and we didn't have a grill for them. So that's something we can look at doing. As in addition, they do have the option right now to paddle their kayak across the river and go into Community Park and utilize those. But it would be more ideal to have it on site right there by the shelter.
Just a charcoal grill, right?
Yes, right.
All right.
And I did want to say one thing about the butterfly area, that I've been there several times with my granddaughter, and every time I've gone there, there's been several families there. We really, really enjoyed it. Feel like it's a great asset.
Good. Yeah, I can echo that. Every time my wife and I have been there, it's surprising how many people are utilizing the walking trail in that whole area. So it's nice.
Yeah, very nice.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just to add to the picnic table discussion, we think that buying those additional picnic tables may be an eligible expense under the CARES Act reimbursements that we received. And so I think that's part of why Jeremy is pricing out some additional tables. I would hate to lose the ones at Prouty Plaza because they are becoming more and more popular for the right reasons. And so we want to continue to promote downtown gatherings out there, but recognizing that Duke Park and even Treasure Island Park could benefit from some more tables. We want to probably try to acquire some additional ones. As far as the grills go, the only thing that we need to check, Jeremy, is with the MCD. Make sure we're okay to do that, since that Treasure Island Park is a kind of a cross relationship with positive relationship. I don't mean crosswise, but it is a partnership with MCD. So we want to make sure that we don't run afoul of that relationship.
Okay.
As far as Prouty Plaza is concerned and those tables, one of the problems with this COVID was we've lost some of our concerts downtown. Would people sitting at those tables make a problem for the people sitting in their lawn chairs seeing the stage? I don't know.
We had when we did do the concerts that we had those slid out far enough that I don't believe there were any conflicts.
Okay. So
I think we can position those off to the side, kind of to the north, that wouldn't impede the concert spectators.
Good. Thank you. Okay, carrying on. Trinity Park. I went out there. The goalposts for the soccer, they need painted. There's a broken swing and add mulch, the typical maintenance items.
What was the broken swing issue? Do you know? Was
It was
the swing actually on the ground?
Well, the chains were there, but the swing was down. No, this was a couple ago, so. Okay. Trosa Park, Jordan.
Gorgeous. It was fine. Everything looked good there.
How about Waterbury Park? Found it.
Jeremy, just so you know, I had to text Al because I couldn't find Waterbury Park.
I mean,
I drove past it about 10 times.
area.
And then I finally found the city ordinance sign. There's no gazebo or anything out there anymore. It almost looks like a retention pond without the water.
Right.
So, that'd be one I'd suggest maybe we think about how we want to handle. Maybe it's nothing important, but there's no signage and
there's no walking trail or anything. It's just green.
There's nothing there. Yeah.
There's a really small green space, and then the whole rest of the property is water retention.
Yeah.
We don't maintain that water retention, do we?
Our department does. Yeah, we finish mow that entire area.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's mowable.
It is mowable. Yeah.
Okay, Westbrook Park, I noted that there's nothing needed, but Jeremy, there are some to the north side. Somebody had created a couple of soccer goal posts. I think they just threw them on the other side of the park side of the fence.
Okay.
You want to send somebody out there to take a look at it, on the door and say, hey, listen, put it on your side of the fence.
Okay.
Any more comments about the park tours?
No.
If not, let's go through your 5-year plan, Jeremy.
Okay, like I said before, I think I definitely captured all of the higher ticket items that were noted from the tours. You'll note just some things to point out. A lot of this is pretty routine that we budget for annually, like the playground mulch recondition. I try to always recondition at least one of the athletic fields at Duke Park. That buys topsoil and seed and fertilizer and anything else we need for those fields. and then just the ongoing maintenance that's involved too. You'll see in 2021, we had 2 fields, baseball and softball outfield fences painted in 2020. We deferred the remaining 3. There were a total of 5. So I carried a line item down from 2020 into 2021 to try to get those remaining 3 fields painted in 2021. That was part of the COVID reductions that we made. I think in the 5 years, our 5-year CIP, we've got the Kings Chapel Recreation Building roof. That building is closing in, I believe, on 30 years old. So the roof's getting pretty thin and is needing replaced. Community Park tennis court crack filling. That's, it's always an ongoing issue with tennis courts. It's been several years since we've touched those up, so we need to start to address that again. I've got that plugged in for 2021. Lighthouse, at the Lighthouse Plaza at Treasure Island, we are looking at possibly doing that in-house with the street department. There's kind of a question as to, with staffing changes there, if we're going to be able to do that and how well they'll be able to finish that concrete. So I went ahead and plugged that into 2021 in case we don't do that in-house with the assistance from our street department. We had talked about, I had mentioned there's been some requests at our dog park for additional benches in the front of the park, closer to the gates. Right now, the only benches we've got 1 on each side, the small dog side and the large dog side, and they're clear back in the back by the spruce trees. And no matter how many times we move them to the gates, they get moved back to the spruce trees for the shade. So the idea was to go ahead and plant trees, put 2 benches in closer to the gates, and then plant trees on each side of those benches to provide, to eventually provide additional shade for the benches at the dog park. So there's a line item there in 2021. And then we had talked about the concrete sidewalk. I believe, Al, you had received a request earlier in the year for that. And
Right.
It's pretty obvious to see where people have worn a path now. So it'd be a connector from where the parking lot ends over to the brick shelter. And then I thought of even splitting it off to each sidewalk that comes out of the brick shelter on each side.
Okay,
Kind of
good.
be a Y-shaped sidewalk that goes out. Additionally, in 2021, like I said before, we've got Community Park Shelter 3 is one of the old original structures that has actually utility poles for the posts. The upright support posts are old utility poles, and it's really low eaves. So Al, you would have to duck for sure to get. I'd be fine. You wouldn't. So that is slated for 2021 if possible. I had a line item for the North Market softball field lights. We really need to start looking at those. They're aging, they're old poles. I tried to have Musco Lighting work on them, and they're so old they won't work on them. So I feel like we can get through another year. We'll try to defer that to 2022, and I'll start to work with Musco on updated pricing for that. The additional item there, replace small play structures at Community Park. This kind of goes in line with Susan's comment about the train. So there's a couple different thoughts there. First of all, we had 2 of the little spring riders that broke that we didn't replace over the past several years. And then we had one of the crossbar swing riders that we repaired it once. The bearings went bad again, and we finally took it out. So that didn't get replaced. And then so I feel like we've lost 3 small play structures already that I feel like would be something we might want to think about starting to put something back, small spring riders, something to replace those. And then look at, do we want to go ahead and paint and repair the train or go ahead and remove it? I feel like it's repairable at this point. We could probably go ahead and paint it one more time. And then
I know my grandkids love it.
okay.
They love the truck, pretending like they're driving both of them. So it's a good thing to climb on. I just, that stack at the top is something that just collects dirt.
Okay.
But
feel
I think
that's-
it's salvageable. I mean, it didn't
Yeah.
feel rickety or anything. It just needed some paint, I think.
Okay, we can clean it up and go ahead and paint it this round. And then I think the 8,000 should still cover some additional spring riders or something like that, just small, just to replace what we've lost there over the years.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to talk about just briefly, I know we're starting to run long here, but something I've really started to think about more and more and looking at Austin's needs and conditions assessment would be to start to condense and modernize the look of our signage. The park signs we have in now, I know most of those were done in the early 2000s. They're the recycled plastic material. I think it would, in my mind, the way I have it visioned would be more of the modernized look, incorporating our new blue and orange colors. I don't know as a board how you feel about that, if that's something that you feel. I feel it would tie our parks in better to our downtown if we were kind of more contiguous with the look. So I started to plug in, and these are just preliminary numbers, just to plug in a line item each year of the next 5 to start to phase out the old signage, bring in the new signs with the new color, more of a contemporary look. And then also condense signs. We've got so many signs, the dog park ordinance and no alcohol and our hours, all these are on individual signs that are, some of them are getting hard to read and need replaced anyway. Would be to have kind of a kiosk near or close to the new signs with all that information condensed onto one pedestal. So it'd just be a lot cleaner, more contemporary look. So that's kind of something that I've been thinking about and wanting to try to implement with your input into each of our parks. So that's why that line item is in there.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
As far as the modern looks concerned, I know the city of Troy spent a lot of time on its current branding and the colors and the blue and orange. What do you guys think? You want to continue that through the parks?
I like it. I mean, yeah, to your point, they've done the research and the study on the branding. If we can tie in, I think that makes sense. My only request is that we do all the parks, because there's a number of parks without signages. And
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this in the past is, you don't, oh, that's X park and you didn't know the name of it, right? That kind of thing. So just make sure that when we do our inventory that we have all the parks listed, and obviously work from a priority level down, but just that they'd all get assigned.
I would support updating them also.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Other than that, for 2021, I did have in the 5-year CIP we've got a 1997. It's our oldest vehicle in the fleet. It's the 1-ton dump truck that we use as a chip truck on our tree crew. It pulls the chipper and has a chip box on it. That truck actually, even given its age, is doing really, really well. We've had a few breakdowns and a few problems. The body's still in pretty good shape. So I feel like we can hold on to that truck for now and defer replacement. Other than that, really our whole fleet is overall in good shape. Our bucket truck's starting to age. I do have that plugged in, I believe next year. So we'll kind of continue to monitor that and see how that goes. And then we've got a really aging, one of the 16-foot pull behind mowers behind the tractor as an early 2000s model. And really feel like it's time to get that out of the fleet and replaced. So that's what that is.
Okay.
You want me to go down just briefly down through any of these others? Everything that I added today as a result of the tours is highlighted in yellow.
I see in 2022, you had Senior Citizen Center new roof. Didn't you?
Yeah.
New roof?
Yeah. So we actually, we had some money left over with the park shelter roofs that we did for the metal we bought for those. And I went ahead and added metal for that back part. Now we still need to do the upper part and the front, as well as both of the additions out to the sides.
Back part looks nice.
It looks really nice. We did that in-house. Charlie and Matt Pierce and Kevin Pyers, all three worked on that in-house. They had it done in a matter of a few days. So they really did a nice job. But so I left that in there so we can go ahead and get the remaining areas. That back part is so flat, that roof was in really, really bad need of a replacement. So we went ahead and did that.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Jordan, Susan, did you see anything else in the upcoming few years that you might want to put into 2021 or discuss in any fashion?
I don't see anything.
I've got some of the extras that I feel like we need to start thinking about. One was the HVAC. I just mentioned the roof on the King's Chapel Recreation Building. That HVAC system is also original. So surprisingly, it's still working, but I went ahead, I didn't have it in the 5 years, so I plugged it into 2025, just anticipating that system is probably gonna go and need a replacement by 2025. So you'll see that in
Shame
there.
on me for this, but Jeremy, do they just rent you? You can just reserve that via the standard system. You reserve a shelter.
Typically not. Usually recreation programming, they've done art classes out up
Okay.
there. It's used in the summertime for summer playground through the rec department. Community events or neighborhood events and that type of thing. So it's not reservable per the normal system per se. Usually it's utilized more in our recreation programming.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I think that's about all I have, unless anybody has any other questions or suggestions.
Susan, Jordan, anything else?
No, I think he
No.
answered.
Okay.
I'd like to put the additional benches in there at the dog park. I mean, that's just another place that gets a ton of use when you're out at Duke,
Yes.
too, right? So I
Yeah.
kind of like that idea.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Do you need any other assistance or input from us to prepare your budget for this next year?
I think that's it. I feel like we've got it pretty well covered. Again, as we go through, we really need to, I know, Patrick alluded to the fact that we're going to be operating probably on a pretty slim, no gravy budget the next couple of years with COVID. I'm going to leave the line items that we have in for the new playground equipment, like at Trinity Park, eventually Duke Park, Community Park. Those line items are already in there. I feel like if we don't stay on top of it, like I've mentioned before, with our aging equipment, like at Trinity and Minky, and some of our new equipment that's now starting to need some additional attention and maintenance, we're going to have to really start to look at that and keep those line items in if at all possible.
Okay. Okay. Does any staff, Mayor, do you guys have any questions or comments?
No.
No.
What's that?
Sent
Our
you-
next-
Al, I just sent you an email. A couple people have talked about no smoking outside at the parks.
That issue came up a number of years ago when Ted Mercer was on council. And Ted wanted some signage and things like that up at the ball diamonds to keep people from smoking there. And that'd be great, but we put it back in city council's laps. You guys want to pass an ordinance, that's where you have our support,
Yeah, well, I sent you the link so you could see some of the comments people made. I don't even know if it's possible, so.
All right. Okay, next meeting. Jeremy, do you think we'll need to meet in September? Do you have any, normally our August meeting is later in the month. and-
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I mean, that's only, 2 weeks? 3
September
weeks away.
1st will be the scheduled
Yeah.
meeting.
I think I'd be fine to not meet if you guys are.
Jordan, Susan, do you need to meet in
Uh,
September, you think?
Yeah, I'm okay with not meeting in September.
Okay, Abby, why don't we just go ahead and not meet in September, and our next meeting will be the October meeting then?
Right, we'll note that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Susan?
Are we going to continue to Zoom indefinitely or?
That's to be determined. Depends on what the governor comes down as far as what's happening. It might be that we do it in a venue that's a little larger for social distance purposes. Being a nurse, what's your feel about that?
I feel like there's plenty of room that we could social distance in the,
In chambers?
yeah. I totally am fine with that. And I feel like we could space out and be safe.
I think the Zoom meetings are really nice for social distancing, but we'll see what the governor comes down with. I know that the emergency was to end in August, at the end of August, so we'll see by October how it'll go. We'll all have vaccines by then, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Okay, anybody have anything else to come before the commission today?
So just to clarify, the next meeting would be October 6th. Is that
Yes,
correct?
First
Okay.
Tuesday of October.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
The only other thing I had, I'm so sorry, is do we owe Tim any action items? Because I know that he's going to do some research regarding those property infringements. So,
I think his marching orders would go back to the people that were asked to buy the property and have them give to us the answers to those questions in that policy.
gotcha.
And then,
with the understanding that that's not a commitment.
and it's certainly not a commitment. Yeah,
Investigative. Yep. Okay.
just want to hear from the law director too on those issues that Patrick outlined.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
I don't know, I thought Tamara from the Senior Citizen Center wanted to make a comment. I'm not sure.
Tammy, you there? You're muted if you're there.
No, I just wanted to listen in honestly, but thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Uh-huh.
We have nothing, sir.
All right, great. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
There's a second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.